Hello you lovely people. I'm coming at you with another video. This time it's a much more impromptu one because we've literally just received these two new images from Bohemia of the new Enfusion Engine, and so they're hot off the press and I want to cover them as soon as possible so you guys can keep up to date with the latest Arma news. Now, I'm going to talk about these two images as well as some further images which were shared all the way back in June. So we're going to start with this image first, and here we've got a red roofed hut somewhere up in a mountain range and some very nice reflections going on the road surfaces here. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is that we've got some really great bump mapping on the terrain. So this is something which DayZ standalone utilizes, but it's really nice to see it being used here. We've also got some new assets such as the fences here, and also obviously this building right here, which we're going to be talking about in a lot more detail. If we actually zoom into the road surface itself, you can see very faintly on the road a sort of reflection of this red roofed hut. It's interesting in itself because I'm not sure if DayZ standalone actually has the technology to enable something like this. Now, what could this mean? Is there a possibility that we will have ray tracing in the next Arma game, whether that be Arma Reforger or Arma 4, whichever one it may be? This is a very interesting possibility. Like, if we move over here, you can see the telegraph pole has also been reflected, and it's a very similar effect to what we have when we're in the water in Arma 3. So when they added the new sea shader, if you're underwater, you can sort of see the reflection shimmering underneath your character. And they've sort of managed to mirror that effect, but on land. And it looks absolutely stunning, I have to say. The other thing is that the mid-range textures, oh my god. So in Arma 3, don't know what the mid-range textures are. Basically anything which is about a medium distance. So like around this kind of area that we're looking at. It just looks really kind of blurry. It looks especially bad on mountainsides. And here, I mean, it might be slightly masked by the fog, but it does look incredibly improved. It just has that extra little bit of polish, that extra bit of detail. Some very clever visual tricks going on here to produce this image. And also, you'll notice they've got these kind of like rock effects going on around the mountains themselves. That isn't something we see a whole lot of in Arma 3 or even DayZ. It looks very realistic and it has a very nice effect. Ordinarily, on an Arma 3 terrain, you'd kind of have this sloped surface and it just wouldn't look very good, but they've managed to integrate this with the terrain much more seamlessly, and that's something which I want you to pay attention to whilst we're looking at these pictures. Everything is so much more seamless. The image looks more natural, it looks cleaner. Again, it looks similar to DayZ, don't get me wrong. It looks like you could pull this out of DayZ standalone, but it just has that extra little bit of polish. If we talk about just a little bit further in terms of the weather effects, got a nice fog effect going on here, but also if you look really closely at the road surface, you can see some rain droplets actually smashing onto the ground as they hit the surface. This again is something which we just don't really see in Arma 3 or even really DayZ. So this in itself has almost got me thinking, are we going to have some serious weather improvements to the next Arma game? I'm going to talk a bit more in detail about this as we come on to talking about this building. You might be wondering what's so important about this building, but believe it or not, I believe it gives us quite a few potential signs, let's say, about where the next Arma game will be going, and specifically the type of weather which will be utilized in the next Arma game. Some people have speculated that this sort of building is very reminiscent of Scandinavian architecture. It may even point towards there being a Norwegian map. However, I did a little bit of internet digging and I managed to locate a building in the Czech Republic which is very similar to this one here, and it's in Nidek. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation of that name. Any Czech viewers, please do correct me. It's in this mountain range. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, but here is the building itself. So it's up on a mountain range and here it is in summer, and if you compare the two, the similarities are pretty striking. They're not, you know, a complete mirror, but there are, you know, very clear similarities. You've got the sort of sloping rooftop here with the window jutting out, as you can see here. Obviously the red roof, the wooden slats around the side, and the setting itself, which is within a mountain range, is very akin to this one here. So this got me thinking, if this is supposedly set within a mountain range, and we look at this picture, it looks very high up in terms of its altitude. It looks like it's, you know, up on a summit somewhere. This place in the Czech Republic actually has various mountain ranges. One of the highest ones is 1,257 meters. That's a big old mountain. And obviously to get to the top of a mountain is quite a long journey. So, you know, I've been skiing before. Whenever you go skiing, you start in the city where the airport usually is, and then you get like a 4-hour, 5-hour coach trip where all of the ski chalets are. This made me think, well, in order to simulate that in a video game, you'd have to have a pretty damn big terrain that would sort of have that graduation from a city down in the bottom and then a mountain range up top. The evidence for this has been supported by another one of the Enfusion images, which has been shared on Twitter by Sebsin. And as you can see here, so this was in a Bohemia interactive game dev talk in Austria. You can see this mountain range here, just in the background. So this is an Enfusion image screenshot. Sorry for the bad quality, by the way, but it was pulled from obviously Twitter and then a live stream. You can see here we've got this graduation to a mountain, and it's very different to anything we've ever seen in Arma 3, where it's kind of just a hill. It's just a grassy hill, and the terrain just covers the top of it, and there's no kind of variation from grass to these lighter areas up here. And I think this is really important because we could almost speculate that there might be, and this is a very strong might, there might be snow on the top of these mountains. This type of building that we've seen here in the Czech Republic, the roof itself is, and believe me, I went quite deep with my research. I looked up this type of roof. It's designed in such a way as to collect the snow around it. So you can see here, this is where the snow would collect. So I mean, this type of roof is very common in the Czech Republic, as you can see from these images here. It's interesting. So you've got these sort of sloped roofs, the indented part here. I have no idea what the technical term for it is. Obviously, it's very, very similar to the image which we've been shared. So I think, again, this is all leaning towards there being a Czech Republic themed map. And this itself would make a great deal of sense because it goes with the theme of Arma games, which is to base it off of the surrounding area where Bohemia Interactive are based. And also, we've been in a pandemic, you know, good old Corona. So it would make sense from a logistical point of view to at least make a game which is based on your hometown, an area where you can easily travel to and gain capture and information data for. Yeah, again, we've got that sort of sloped roof. I think disregard any of the leaks or rumors going around that this will be a Scandinavian map. I think that's completely false. I don't think this is Scandinavian. I don't think it's Norwegian. So yeah, Czech Republic, and there being a possibility, not a guarantee, but a possibility that there could be snow in certain parts of the map or even dynamic weather. Now, I don't want to, you know, be the sort of hype man and then let people down, because obviously none of this has been confirmed. So I do stress that this is all speculation. You know, all of the YouTubers that make these types of videos are just guessing, making inferences on what they are seeing. But I just think it's interesting. You know, this is a sort of, it's a snow roof. It's made to withstand snow. Could there be snow in the next Arma game? Possibly. When I made my Arma 4 wishlist video, that in itself focused on VBS, which has technology allowing there to be dynamic snowfall over a certain amount of time. I know VBS is a completely different technology and it's owned in itself by a different part of Bohemia, or it's a different company, but you know, could there be some crossover? Now, if we move on to the second image, which has been shared, and I will be relating this image to the 3 Twitter images which we have here. The biggest improvement here we can see is, I would say, view distance. It has been massively improved. So for example, take a look at this one. You've got a mountain range up here. In Arma 3 or even DayZ standalone, mountains kind of just haze away into this sort of blue fog. But here you've got this lovely kind of graduation. Obviously granted it's blocked up by this text box, but you can sort of see just at the background here that it has this really nice fading, and this is kind of how it would look in real life. The fundamental point is that there's a very natural color palette. Everything looks very clean and crisp, and it has this sort of organic feeling to it. Now, the second big feature of this image is the ground clutter, of course. We've got huge improvements to the amount of objects which are placed around this woodland. It is in itself very akin to DayZ standalone. You might remember when they had the forest update and they brought in all of this ground clutter, you know, the fallen logs, the moss, different trees and flowers, and it just created this kind of new texture for traveling around the forest. And we can see it here. It looks fantastic and definitely a big leap in the right direction for bringing the next Arma game up to modern standards. Now, another thing which is also made manifest in Ivan Butcher's GDC talk is reflecting, as you can see here by the text, reflecting the expected ecological conditions. So instead of just plonking some random trees down and trying to make it look pretty, they've actually tried to make it look as close to reality as possible. It's going to show in a way that the next Arma game is going to be really pushing for that realism, not just in its simulation of infantry, aircraft and etc. and all of the normal stuff you know and like, but actually the environment itself. And I think this is an interesting step forward. I think this is really exciting. Obviously, again, it is speculation. None of it is confirmed. I'm just a guy sat at his computer making random guesses, you know. Take it all with a pinch of salt. But I think it's just fun to sort of speculate and imagine what all of this could be leading us to, because Bohemia are sharing more and more of these images, and I think we're getting closer to something. I'm not sure what, but something, whether it be a reveal or a video trailer, something. They have tempered some of our expectations in the past. Obviously there was no announcement of Arma Reforger in the latest 20th anniversary stream, but I think we can take stuff away from these images. But what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think that this is pointing us towards there being a reveal anytime soon? Do you think this is based in the Czech Republic? And do you think Arma Reforger is an actual thing? Or do you think actually we'll just be getting Arma 4 and that will be many, many years down the road? We're really interested to hear what your thoughts are. Thanks as always for watching, guys and girls, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. TOMMEH out.